Hello and welcome to the inaugural All Vote No Play Engaged Athlete All-Star Meeting. My name is Lisa K. Solomon, and I could not be more excited to be your host for tonight. We have almost 2,000 participants joining us from around the country. Athletes, coaches, mentors, educators, parents, teachers, youth sports, and more. It's an extraordinary reminder of the power of athletes and sports to bring us together on behalf of a greater purpose. I am so proud to be a part of the All Vote No Play Leadership Initiative. It's just been an extraordinary journey to be working along such incredible athletes and coaches that care deeply about empowering all student athletes to become better teammates, engaged citizens, and informed voters. It's just extraordinary to be part of this effort that really flexes our civic muscles and power in new ways. Now, when we planned this, we could have never imagined that we would be doing this the day after the Emmy Awards, where our nation's favorite coach, Ted Lasso, brought home 4 more Emmys. Who doesn't love a coach that makes his players and teammates better? And in doing so, makes the community thrive. It's extraordinary that at the heart of Ted Lasso is the mindset of belief, the mindset that we can all create a better future together by pooling our individual talents in extraordinary ways. At Stanford, I teach a class called Inventing the Future. And at the heart of the class is the belief that the mindsets and practices and skill sets required for all of us to shape a better future, to shape the kinds of communities and teams we want to be a part of, are teachable and learnable with intentional practice. And it turns out that athletes are amazing at practice. And they know, and we know, that you cannot get better at the things that you don't practice. The belief that the future is not up to others, but is instead up to us, is a stance of civic power and possibility. And that is exactly what we are going to be exploring tonight. Now, I am not alone in thinking about that. So I want to welcome all of you with this incredible message by Senator Cory Booker, former student athlete, Stanford player from the class of '91. And I'd like us all to think about what Cory Booker has to say about what athletes can bring to our future and our country.
Hey, this is Cory Booker, and I am excited about All Vote No Play. And I guess I'm excited just because I know the power of athletics to transform a life. I am literally a United States Senator standing on the foundation of the kind of grit and teamwork and leadership, all the lessons and wisdom that I learned, not to mention the opportunities that athleticism opened up for me. But I also know I'm here because athletes have understood the power of their activism. From Muhammad Ali to Billie Jean King, we know that some of the greatest advancements for justice in America have been made by athletes over the years who understood that they had the potential to be artists of activism, to make this nation live up to its promise. Whether you realize it or not, as an athlete, you have a great impact and influence amongst peers and young people and others. And this is a time to use it because democracy is not a spectator sport. It is a full participation endeavor that demands everybody get on the field. And you know that, we know that as athletes. And so I encourage you to set that example, to inspire folks, in many ways to look at this point in our nation's history as the truth, that the game is on the line. The promise of our democracy is always on the line. The cherished freedoms and privileges are not promised. We have to work for them. And if you have the great privilege of being an athlete in this great nation, we should use that. It's not a burden, but a responsibility, an opportunity to pass on to the next generation and pass on to others what has been given to us, this extraordinary nation with abundant opportunity that has allowed us in our lives to flourish. Thanks, everybody. Good luck, and get out there and vote.
Amazing. We're so grateful to Senator Booker for being so supportive of this movement, for expressing an opportunity that we all have to put our power and platform to work on behalf of our future, that democracy is not a spectator sport. That really resonates with me as an educator, as a coach, as a civic entrepreneur, and yes, as a former student athlete. I know what it's like to work and persevere every day to try to be better. And so much of what we're trying to do is to show that there's more available to us beyond our sport to make our societies and our communities better. We have an unbelievable lineup for you tonight of all-stars, the all-stars of all-stars, the goats and the greats of civic leadership and sports, to help share their story, their motivation in conversation with student athletes. We really wanted to get personal, and we wanted to make it relevant to each and every person watching, that you don't necessarily have to lead a protest or a march to express your civic power, that the way we show up as teammates for each other every day are things that we can learn from, that we can make that choice. And I cannot wait for what's about to unfold. I think it's also important as we get started to share a little bit about the history of all vote, no play. Some of you may have been like, I'm down for the engaged athlete part, but what about that no play part? I'm not sure I'm there for that. And I wanted to just share the origin story because I think it embodies everything that this movement is about. In June of 2020, Coach Eric Reveneau, there on the right, was trying to support his team, then at the time at Georgia Tech, where he was the associate head coach of the basketball team, to help them understand what was happening in the moments following the murder of George Floyd, the dynamic social activism, the protests, the marches, the pain that we were feeling about how we were going to move forward as a country. And in one of his team meetings, one of the seniors on the team, Malachi Rice, asked his teammates about their plans for the future and specifically asked them if any of them were registered to vote. To Coach Reveneau's surprise and perhaps a little dismay, nobody raised their hand. And after 25 years of coaching, the realization that as perhaps one of the most important adults in these young people's lives, that he missed an opportunity to talk about becoming engaged citizens as part of becoming an engaged athlete, a developed athlete. A few days later, Coach Rev took to the Twitter sphere, as some of you follow Rev might know, and planted a call to action. And he said, on election day, we as coaches should not practice or play. We should instead make time to vote. Hashtag all vote, no play. Within days, the movement went viral. Over 1,100 coaches signed a pledge that they would not practice or play on election day. That's tens of thousands of student athletes. Shortly after, the leadership committee of the NCAA proposed a legislation to make election day a day off from practice and play, to instead become a day on for civic engagement, an annual event. And that persists to this day. And what's exciting is that just this year, some of you may know that the NBA made a similar announcement for this year. So this is not just a moment in time. This is a movement. And we are doing it through the energy of athletes. We recently started an Engaged Athlete series trying to highlight the diversity of ways that athletes were stepping up for their communities. Whether it's Hannah Lisiak from Northwestern's volleyball team, who spent her summer preparing the Big Ten to get engaged in the midterms, or Ryan Belk, a tight end from Yale, a Parkland survivor who became passionate about gun violence and is using that passion to engage the entire Bulldog athletic community to create a voter registration drive. Or Chase Griffin, who we're going to hear from later today, who not only helped run the 2020 Bruins votes, but is using some of the percentage of his NIL endorsements to support local communities and other student athletes. Each and every one of these engaged athletes are stepping up beyond their sport. And our hope is that this is not just a limited series, that the engaged athlete mindset reaches the more than 500,000 athletes around the country, not to mention high schools, as well as youth sports. This is the opportunity that is ahead of us. I want to say, before we get into the conversations tonight, that this event is extraordinary on another reason. And that is because of the coalition of partners that have come together to support this. This isn't just any single organization. This is a system-wide effort to try to reimagine how to support student athletes in flexing their leadership and civic skills. We have the Pac-12 using their muscle and their long history of supporting athletes to engage beyond their sport, combined with iCivics, the largest provider of civics education for K-12 educators around the country. We have Athletes Unlimited, a mind-blowing professional sports league that we're going to hear about later, that from its DNA supports its athletes to give back to their communities, along with incredible civics organizations like vote.org, Motivote, a tech platform that uses behavioral science to help us vote, All In Campus Democracy Challenge, Students Learn, Students Vote, My Vote, and many, many others that have been behind it. This alone is groundbreaking. Additionally, we have over 900 athletes that are watching tonight's event through team watch parties being sponsored by Pizza to the Polls. I wish we could have like a fan cam or a team cam on all of you so that we could get pictures of Michigan State, of Davis, of Holy Cross, of BU, of so many others that are coming together to realize that democracy is something that can build community and that we can bond over pizza and purpose. And we're so grateful to Pizza to the Polls, which is just an extraordinary organization reimagining civic joy.